Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Dang, guys, it's been forever. How have you been? You guys don't talk to me anymore. You never say hi. You never, say, hello. Gets lonely over here. I just get locked away in here. I don't go out. I just stay here. Anyway, I do read news, however, though, while being here. So, what has been going on? Well, it's been a while, so I'm going to do a couple articles from the past 2 weeks, and then just go right into current news. So first thing I want to catch you up on is Asus did announce a MeMo Pad right after CES, and they said it would come out. It would be a 7-inch tablet with a resolution of 1024 by 600. It's the same as more like the Kindle Fire 2 or the iPad Mini. The graphics card is okay, it's decent. RAM is 1 gig, 16 gigs of storage, and 1 megapixel on the front camera. It will have a Jelly Bean 4.1 out of the box though, and is expected to be around $150. So not bad for a price-conscious one to go against the Kindle Fire 2. I would certainly pick it over the Kindle Fire 2. But in recent news, they also have been saying that Asus will supposedly release a Nexus 7 II in May at Google's I/O. So, and this one's just supposed to be having a better resolution. We're not sure if it's going to be, they have 1280 by 800 right now. They might have 1440 by 900, or some type of other resolution. We don't know. Maybe even 1080. Who knows? We'll see. But really kind of interesting to see what they'll be able to bring to the table. And it's supposed to be lighter and thinner as well. So we'll see. Asus is developing though, and we'll see what new stuff they come out with this year. Also, in the past weeks, the iPhone 5 slides below all Android phones according to Consumer Reports rating in all carriers. So for AT&T, Sprint, Apple barely got to the top 3. Whereas on T-Mobile, which doesn't carry the iPhone, of course, and Verizon, which does carry the iPhone, Apple didn't even make the top 3. So the top 3 on AT&T goes S3, Optimus G, and then iPhone. And same for Sprint, again going LG, S3, and iPhone. And for T-Mobile, it is going to be the S3, the 1S, and the Note 2. And for Verizon, it is the Razr Max HD, Razr HD, and Samsung Galaxy S3. Now, so it's really interesting that they have gone so down. Not only, Apple's basically really is a sinking ship at this point. They really are just kind of going down in terms of everything, from popularity to Consumer Reports to their stock to everything. It's just they have lost it. And what else have they gone down in smartphone share? So if you read some of my previous videos, you have seen that I have called Apple out on, we don't know if it's Apple doing paying someone off or anything like that, but the statistics from Contra have definitely been contrary to everyone else. So it's just really not been what everyone else has reported, and these are actual findings that everyone can agree on because ComScore is one of the most respected ones in the mobile industry for statistics. So ComScore reports Android now being at 53% of the smartphone market in the past 3 months. Ending in November, so this does not include December, and really well off. It grew 1.1%, so it's now 53% of the market, while Apple is at 35% of the market, and this is in the U.S. And in terms of manufacturers, Samsung rose to 26.9%, and if you think about it statistically, that makes it almost all of, and it's the majority of Android now. And while Apple is at 18.5%. So it's really impressive how far Samsung has become. You can literally add Apple and HTC's numbers, and Samsung beats them both. in the U.S. So that's pretty impressive that Samsung has gone that far, where you can actually add to Apple and another manufacturer, and still Apple is not in comparison to Samsung anymore. Not only that, but on other stats, we started to see all of the units shipped for the year of 2012. And we get 1.6 billion units shipped in 2012. So it's a lot, to say the least. And in terms of millions shipped, we're seeing that Samsung sold 63 million phones, and Apple sold 47 million phones, where Nokia is at third place at 6.6 million phones. Everyone else makes 100 million total out of all the other manufacturers, but no one is above 6 million, of course. In terms of percentage, Samsung makes up about 30% of the market sold in Q4. So that's the last 3 months of the year. It sold about 30%. And whereas Apple sold about 22% in Q4, and Nokia sold about 3%. So just Apple, Samsung, and Nokia take more than 50% of all the phones sold in the world, which is pretty impressive, but definitely the main thing that stands out is how much Samsung has dominated this market, so much so that you can add the top two sellers besides them, Apple and Nokia, and they still don't add up to Samsung's numbers. Again, just really impressive that Samsung has come this far from being last year and the year before, that Nokia was the top smartphone and feature phone seller in the world, and then Apple became the top smartphone seller, and then now Samsung has dethroned both of them. So it's been a very impressive year for Samsung, and really curious to see what they're going to do next. Speaking of what they're going to do next, actually, one thing that in Korea researchers have been able to do, which we know Samsung's been working on this for a while now, is the world's first imprintable and bendable lithium battery. Now, what does this go great with? Of course, it goes what we saw at CES, Samsung's flexible screen technology. So to be able to actually not only bend the screen, but the battery is quite impressive. It really gives that ability to see phones in the future where we can actually not be able to break them, which is, of course, really well off. But that is the distant future. What is Samsung doing in the current future? Well, they flaunted around a brown and ruby wine Note 2 that's being released in Korea. As we all know, they usually get released in Korea first. And the red really looks nice, and the brown is a very distinctive color. It's very nice. So will we see these in worldwide? Who knows? Obviously, other carriers did eventually get different colors, but those were the first ones. Always in Korea. And Sony, coming off of their impressive Z, however you want to pronounce it, phone at CES, has now launched a Xperia Tablet Z, or Z. It is 1.5 gigahertz quad core, a 10-inch 1080 screen, so it is 1920 by 1200, and it is 6.9 millimeters thickness, which means it is actually thinner than the iPad mini, so that's pretty thin. Definitely see how it is. I don't like how square it is. It is very square, no rounded edges whatsoever. It looks very distinctive, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It also does have 2 gigs of RAM, an 8.1 megapixel camera on the back with their Exmor-R sensor. It does have NFC, and it will be available with LTE and microSD expandability. Now, the big thing about this one is that it's also supposed to be waterproof and dustproof, just like their phone. So this is pretty interesting that they have that kind of technology, especially in a tablet, so you don't have to worry about it getting splashed or anything like that, or dirt on it. Of course, it does look like it might be a little fragile, especially at 6.9 thickness, so I wouldn't say you could drop it, but if it has a little water on it, you don't have to freak out. Speaking earlier from Apple's fall from grace, Exxon is now the world's most valuable company again after Apple's debacle, as they call it. Apple stock has basically just put them down below the category where they used to be, and therefore they're no longer the world's most valuable company, as they continue to decline under the 450s for the most part. Remember, I did bet that Apple would go to 400 before the end of February, so we'll see if I end up being correct on that. What can Apple do to save themselves? Well, let's see. The rumor mill is going around right now, and the iPhone 4S is supposedly going to have, wait for it, a 13 megapixel camera. Might I add to this rumor? Duh. If the iPhone wouldn't have a 13 megapixel camera by the time it would come out, it would be really bad. The release date supposedly July, while the Retina display iPad Mini and the iPad 5 are rumored to be coming out towards October. Do I believe this? I don't know. I still believe Apple could come out with a conference in the near future, like March or even April. I do see them holding off their iPad. It's a little bit weird for them, but at the same time, they released the iPad at the end of the year last time, so they're kind of changing things up. I do not believe they have the manufacturing power to release an iPhone 5S before July. I think July is the absolute earliest they could release it, so maybe they're trying to jump the gun instead of releasing it in September to take it in July, just to try to decrease the momentum that I'm sure the S4 will have by then. So we'll see. Can they do it? We'll see. And speaking on the other side, there are other companies besides Samsung and Apple, right? There's HTC. And HTC says, according to their president, he says that Samsung should be worried about HTC superphones. He feels that, they are making, he says that Samsung was making fewer moves, and HTC knows what they're going to do next, and HTC has the ability to make Samsung worried. I don't see it. HTC has never capitalized on one thing, and that's marketing. They seem to understand hardware now and how to make really good hardware. Their battery life is still the worst on Android, as far as I'm concerned. And that's one thing they've always been known for. Like, I always hated, anytime I heard someone had bad battery life, oh, Android has horrible battery life. I'm like, what phone do you have? You had an HTC, didn't you? And it's always an HTC. Android gets blamed for bad battery life. I do think HTC is starting to step in the right direction, but they need better battery life, they need marketing, and they need features. They concentrated so much on hardware last year, specs-wise. I want to make a beautiful 1080p screen. Well, that's great, but Sense still needs work. It still needs to be fine-tuned, and it needs to not be so over-compassing. Get some panels on the top of your notification panel too. I hate that they don't have the toggles at the top of the notification panel. Just simple things like that can come a long way, and I want to see HTC succeed. Honestly, I really do love the company. I love them for being the first one to introduce Android to the world. But they are no longer the company that they once were, and they need to reclaim that. And speaking of interesting promotions, Samsung is releasing a Granite Red Galaxy Tab 2 7.0 with Jelly Bean out of the box, and including a case for $219, especially for Valentine's Day. It's a nice looking red. It looks pretty nice and sleek, and I do love the color for the case. It just makes a really good presentation. Anyone that wants red should definitely get it. Or should you? Because, according to other rumor mill, the Galaxy Tab 3 7-inch and 10.1 are supposedly coming out around the same time the Samsung Galaxy Note 8-inch is supposed to come out. Now, is this true? Will we find out about this? Well, according to Sam Mobile website, supposedly the Tab series is still going to keep continuing, and we're really going to see how what kind of devices they'll come out with. So, interesting enough, the 7-inch is rumored to be this time around the $149 to $199 price point, which would be very competitive against the next Nexus 7-inch. as well as the Kindle Fire HD price point. And I think it would be really good. Samsung was a really good device comparing to those two, and I think with a strong update, they'll go further. The Note 8-inch that a lot of us are waiting on, including myself, is supposed to be priced at $249 to $299, and then for the $349 to $399 price point, we're supposedly going to get the Galaxy Tab 3. Now, the rumor on it is, will it be high-end, or will it be another mid-range 10-inch and leave a Note 10.12 to come out later on this year? That we don't know. It's really vague. Obviously, these are all rumor mills anyway. But I'm really interested to see what they come out with. I think if they just slightly upgrade the tabs, I do think they need to be quad-core at this point, but we'll see. The Note 8-inch is supposed to be quad-core, but, are the tabs going to be quad-core, or are they still going to be dual-core? I think if they had the Snapdragon S4 dual-core, not that bad, especially for the price point. At least for the 7-inch. For the Tab 3, though, I would say you do need a quad-core at this point. Even if it's last year's quad-core that was on the Note 10.1, that would still go a long way. We'll see how it turns out, and I'm really curious to see these devices. Alright, last 3 articles. Unlocking your phone is now illegal in the US. This is pretty interesting to see this turn of events. You can now not unlock a phone. It is against the law in the US without the carrier's permission. So the carrier has to unlock your phone, which carriers are usually pretty good about that. Like, you can get your phone unlocked if you really want to. If you just call through the, when I asked carriers what they thought about it, like, dude, you can call the number and they'll unlock your phone. So I don't think it's too difficult as we've all thought it would be. I think a lot of us don't like to call and be in that uncomfortable situation, though. I, for one, wouldn't want to either. But you could face up to a $2,500 fee if you were to unlock the phone without the carrier's permission. So, interesting. Microsoft Surface Pro has been in the news. It will be released February 9th, so mark your calendars for that day. And starting at $899, $999 of course, with the touch keyboard combo pack. And we got word on the storage already. It would be going for 64 gigs and 128 gigs. However, that 64 gigs we found out translates to only 23 gigs after the built-in storage. And the 128 gigs only translates to 83 gigabytes. I would suggest the 128 gig, especially if you're planning on making this the permanent laptop replacement that this should be. And I would go with the $999 model, again without the keyboard at that price, for the 128 gigabytes of storage, just so you can have 83 bucks, or so you can have 83 gigs. It's a lot more worth it. Alright guys, that was all the fun facts and articles for the weeks that I have been out. Hopefully you liked the weekly update, and I promise to keep doing this weekly. Alright, thank you for watching. This has been RCKY, the Android Guy.